journey in becoming experts in this field, what's been the most important decision that you've had to make?
Individually, the biggest decision I've made was starting my own business, which was my former business partner is Australia's leading polygraph operator. So I, as I said before, the path was being carved out for me around truth and lies and human behavior. And I left a good job. I was a single mum with 2 little girls. And I said, there's more for me. There's something there pulling me. And I left my job to start a business. And everybody said to me, you're crazy. What are you doing? You need the money. You've got a mortgage. What business are you going to start anyway? I said, I don't know. It'll come. So I
Wait, you started a business and you didn't know what the business was?
I knew it was something.
That's such extreme entrepreneurship illness.
Just running headlong into it.
I knew it was something around, people and human behavior and the whole truth and lies. Like I just knew it. I knew it in every cell of my body. And then after I'd left the job and started to kind of write down what do I want to do, then I crossed paths with a former cop that I knew, that I say cop, and he just come back from the States, and he was a polygraph operator here in Australia, one of the very few that we had. And I said, he said, what are you doing these days? And I said, I'm starting a business, something around interviewing or communication or something. And then we got talking, and then we started a business together. And then 6 years later, I took over that business myself. So that's
amazing. We're going to put a disclosure in the episode right here that says Sean and Sanger do not recommend leaving your job with absolutely no plan for the future.
Do it.
No, that's such a cool story. Yeah, you really, you just knew that you believed in yourself.
Yeah, and I actually say that to women that we coach too, is there's an inner desire, there's an inner burning in there, but what we do is we push it down so often. There's something that I think that we're all meant to do in this lifetime on this planet, and so many people start to look at it, and then they go, oh, I couldn't do that, or that's too hard, or that's for the clever people, or whatever it is, and I say, yes, you can, go after it. And what's the worst thing that can happen? If it doesn't work out, doesn't matter. Move on. There's something else out there for you. Try it.
So tell me about who hires you guys normally, in this sort of body language, seeking to understand how you can interpret truth. Who's primarily hiring you to do that?
Lena?
So I train a ton of law enforcement, as does Elly. We also work with the government officials. I train a lot of government agencies. I train private sector. I train one-on-one individuals. I train other entrepreneurs. So it's anybody who is looking to have more awareness in human behavior, so they can identify when somebody is misleading them or when somebody's trying to take advantage of them, right? So they can make better choices, whether in their personal lives or professional lives. So we really do have a wide range of clients that we service.
What did you learn from doing interrogations at Guantanamo Bay about that?
Oh my gosh. That's where I think everything that I am today came from. The first week I was there, I was taught in 1999, so I'm dating myself, and I am a Marine Corps certified interrogator. So I was a Navy intel officer, but Marine Corps certified interrogator. And we had a repertoire of 19 approach techniques, and a couple were not so nice. They were the fear up. And fear up, as a disclosure, let me tell you, has nothing to do with coercion or torture. Fear up is instilling a fear of the unknown. What's going to happen to you if you don't tell the truth? That's fear up. But I quickly noticed within my first interrogation, number one interrogation, the only way that you're going to get the truth is if somebody wants to give it to you. The only way somebody's going to want to give you the truth is if you treat them like a human being, regardless of what they've done. It's respect. It comes down to two things, rapport and respect. So in my first week of Gitmo, I switched tactics and I started creating my own method of interrogation. And that's what I train law enforcement in today. And in fact, my course is certified in the state of Virginia. And it's a 6-part non-accusatory rapport-based interviewing strategy. And some people, when they think of that, they think, oh my gosh, I don't have time to build rapport with these people. But yes, you do. If you have 5 minutes, you have time. So everything, in order to get the truth, a person has got to want to tell you the truth. And the only way you're going to get that is if you have some type of rapport. Doesn't mean you have to be their best friend, but it comes with trust and respect. So that was the biggest takeaway. And I think everything that I've done up until that point with all my training focuses on that.
It sounds like the military needs better training on interrogators, because when we talked to Eric Maddox, he said the same thing. He said, and you, I would imagine you recognize the name. He located Saddam Hussein, right? So as an interrogator, he said he goes in and nothing was working.
Nothing.
He's getting no answers. And he just has this radical idea. He figured it out on his own, kind of like you. Hey, maybe if I just treat them like humans, maybe that'll work. Right? And that's fascinating to me.
Yeah, he was focusing on empathetic listening, which I think goes to the heart of that where you're talking about treating people like humans, just sort of listening, you know, and not going in like Jack Bauer and saying, you know, we're gonna beat you within an inch of your life unless you tell us, you know, where's the bomb hidden, you know, that kind of thing.
That's Hollywood. It's not real life.
So, all right. So you were talking about the 6-part rapport building techniques. What are those 6 parts?
Oh, if I can rattle them off. Well, I'm just going to tell them to you real quick. But number one is non-accusatory, right? You have to be non-accusatory. That means you have to mind your body language. You have to mind your words. Oftentimes we'll use very accusatory language and we don't even realize it. So it's really being cognizant of every single word you use when you're speaking, when you're asking a question, when you're using elicitation, even in your rapport building. It's also being objective, right? You have to be objective. That is having empathy. That's being very aware, self-aware, situationally aware. And if I created my own golden rule that I train everybody in, and it's called don't tell, ask. There's a technique out that cops have been taught in the past where they will create a hypothetical situation, or they'll say, you know what, Sean, I know why you had to sell drugs. You got kids to feed. You got 6 children. I know it's difficult. Why would I say that if you wanted to sell drugs just because you want to sell drugs, right? So you never soften up. Don't tell people what they did or why they did it. All you have to do is ask them. That is it. And they use that technique because they're afraid of coming out and asking that question because of the fear of they're going to harden up. They're going to put the wall up. They're not going to be honest. Well, you never know until you try. And if you started off with a good foundation of rapport and you have that respect, then they shouldn't hesitate when you ask that question. So that is one of my golden rules is don't tell, ask. And of course, accurately detecting deception. And that's what Elly and I teach. You can't just read a book on body language and be like, oh, I know when people are going to lie to me, because there's so many caveats that you have to know in order to accurately make the decision that somebody is being dishonest with you.
When when we look at body language in dealing with clients, you know, one of the things that I've heard people say is using mirroring. You know, that can help put people at ease. Do you find that when you're doing the interrogations, is that helpful, or is that do you want to have a different kind of dynamic?
No, I love mirroring. Okay, so you can mirror in a bunch of different ways. You've probably heard mirroring with the body language, but I like to mirror verbally. So I will mirror the tone, the pitch of voice, the rate of speech, and particular words that people use. Because when I do that, I become more like the other person. So it's exploiting that similar to me bias, which makes me become more familiar, more comfortable. And in one of my litigant interviews, he came in. He was hysterically funny. So I thought, okay, I can use my own personality and use my humor. I love using self-deprecating humor. And he came in, my wife's crazy. I'm not cheating. You know, she's blah, 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 blah. I'm okay, typical smokescreen. Within 45 minutes, I had him saying, I'm a male hoe. I'm sorry. I just can't stop. I'm like, it's fine. You know, I'm not here to judge you. But how I got him there to confessing about a lot more than I even wanted to hear was I mirrored him, and I mirrored a word he used. He was telling me about this one night where he was partying or whatever when the cheating happened. And he said, well, I had to change my shirt because I was musty. Now, I didn't know what that meant. So I go, musty. I go, I don't know what that means, Donna. What is musty? He's like, body odor, right? And I'm like, oh, well, if you're going to use musty, I'm going to make sure to use that word. So a couple of minutes later in the conversation, I'm like, whew, I feel musty right now because it's hot in this room. And he started laughing. And the more I mirrored his personality, his persona, his words, the more comfortable he became around me, the more he trusted me, the more he liked me. And then finally said, no, you're right. I'm lying. I'm a cheater. I was like, okay.
Busted.
Busted, musty.
That's right.
Yeah. I'm not sure where I heard it, but some body language expert, and I guess according to Sean, everyone's an expert in body language compared to me. They told me that if you cross your feet, that's that indicates that you're closed off, that you're hiding something.
Mm-hmm.
I guess similar to you closing off your arms, crossing your arms in front of you. And I noticed that I was doing that all the time. Once they told me, I'd just be sitting at a desk, and sometimes maybe it's even a table with a tablecloth, and I'd be talking across the table from someone. They can't see my feet, and I would go, okay, I gotta get this switched up. Even though I knew that they weren't going to see it and go, oh yeah, I saw that same YouTube video. This guy's singer must be lying. It was just so uncomfortable once I noticed that I was doing it. I go, man, I got to really work through this problem.
But Sanger, we said before, Lena spoke about baselining someone's normal behavior. So if that's what you do, what makes your body comfortable most of the time, that's just what you do. Some of us speak with a lot of hand gestures. I do. And Lena's quite controlled at the moment, but she does speak with hand gestures. Some people hold their body a certain way. Some people cross their feet. Some people cross their arms a lot. If I cross my arms, it might mean I'm closed off. It also might mean that I'm cold. And, as Lena talked about body language myths before, and you can go down to the library, go down to the communications aisle, pick out a book, remember books before we Googled everything, and pull out a body language 101. And some of those books I'm worried about because they say this always equals that. Mm-hmm. This always means that. So people read that and go, got it. No worries. So they get out there, and then that person does that thing, and they jump to conclusions and they say, well, the book said it. But we're all so individual, and we all have our own idiosyncrasies. We all do crazy stuff with our bodies that we're unaware of. And so we have to be careful not to jump to conclusions. And in my courses, I teach my students the 3 C's: C, collect, consider, conclude. And that's being conscious of the data that you're collecting when it comes to reading a person, whether that's verbal or non-verbal, but then considering what it might mean. Mm-hmm. So, I might look away when I'm talking to you, but it could be because there's a window up there and there's some birds flying past, or it could be, you don't know that. And so you have to consider all the possibilities before you conclude. Mm-hmm. And you might find that you don't have enough information to conclude. You've got to go back and get some more data.
Sure. So I would imagine that reading body language is analogous to reading any other language, right? Whether you're a university English professor or you are actually illiterate, you still speak English, right? Assuming you do speak English. We are all speaking English and can communicate with each other regardless of what your own competency is at the language. That's got to be the case somewhat with body language. Even somebody who feels like they don't know anything. Well, you've interacted as a human for your entire life, so you know something. But my question is completely out of my brain now that I've talked. I completely lost where I was going with my train of thought. That was such a quick ride. It was over. It came and it